It's now been more than 24 hours since the earthquake hit. I'm standing in front of one of the buildings where some students were housed, watching the rescue efforts. At this stage, I have to say, a kind of eerie silence has come over this town because most of the residents have evacuated. The people who were pulled out alive have been pulled out. And at this stage, a lot of the rescue effort is just to see if there are any more victims under the rubble. The only remaining people here are family members and friends of people believed to be under that rubble. So at this stage, more than 24 hours into this, it's looking like a lot of those who were alive have been rescued, and the efforts are continuing, and they were going on since early this morning. The town is filled with emergency services and fire operators, but it's a hillside town, and all of the towns around it have also been affected. So there's a vast kind of area where they have to do these rescue efforts. About 50% of the buildings here, Reggie, are not safe. They've been cracked, they've been smashed, and the most damage, of course, on some of them that have completely collapsed. And that's where the rescue effort is being concentrated at this moment. Reggie?
And so tell us a little bit about this, what has been described to me as a medieval town, the sort of architecture that is there, which obviously is problematic when you have such a strong earthquake.
Well, let me describe to you that Aquila is a medieval town, and of course then throughout the years and the centuries, various other styles from Baroque to Renaissance have grown with it, and then where most of the people live is even a little bit further outside of that, what they call the historic center. So these people are living in buildings that may have been constructed certainly in the 1900s, even from 1950 onwards, and this town is built on a fault line, so they are aware that earthquakes are a problem here, and they have put in some codes for buildings to be built according to earthquake-proof standards. But, for example, the hospital, which is modern, built just a few years ago, part of that building collapsed, blocking off 8 of the 9 operating rooms, which is a major problem for them, and they've had to send victims to other hospitals. And so a lot of the residents are saying, why are these newer buildings the ones that have collapsed versus the older ones, which have been able to at least, yes, they've suffered some damage, for example, in the church and in some of the older monuments, but where the people live, they tend to be these kind of modern 5-6-story apartment buildings with, say, 12 apartments in each one. And I was just in front of one of them that had completely collapsed. They had saved a girl, 21-year-old girl, from that building earlier, and I was with the sister of another girl, unfortunately, who had to receive the news that her sister had died. And so there are still some people just sitting on the sidewalk, crying, praying, hoping for some good news for their loved ones that are trapped underneath these apartment buildings.
And Delia, before I let you go, what about the concern of remaining aftershocks?
Well, so far, I have to say there haven't been any. There was a small one earlier this morning, but fortunately for the moment, there haven't been any aftershocks, and the weather has also held up fairly well. In fact, it's been quite hot. So from that point of view, that certainly helps the rescue efforts, because I can tell you, looking at some of these buildings, if there's any, even a minor earthquake again, some things are going to start to fall again. So certainly Mother Nature has helped the rescue efforts a little bit in that sense.